Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for One Piece Chapter 1018. When we last left our heroes, Tama made her big announcement to all of the gifters of Onigashima, or at least all the gifters that she and her allies had reached, to change sides, which led to mass chaos throughout the Skull Dome. Queen tried to attack her, and so Sanji kind of deflected that attack. And the ensuing confrontation there got Queen to reveal that he was on the MADS scientific research team, the same scientific research team that both Judge and Vegapunk were a part of about 25-ish years ago, I think. So that's pretty big. Speaking of big, we then went to Jimbei and Who's Who, where we learned that Who's Who was a former CP9 agent who was sort of kicked out after 12 years ago, he failed to protect the Gum Gum fruit from the Red Hair Pirates, which leads to him having a bit of a grudge against Luffy. So yeah, that's big. I'm really curious as to why the world government has such an interest in the Gum Gum fruit. It's always seemed like a kind of random devil fruit. But yeah, let's jump right on into chapter 1018, Jimbei versus Who's Who. So it's safe to say we're going to get a lot more answers as to that this chapter. Our picture here, though, is of page 1 as a child trying to read a book of dinosaurs and being interrupted by Ulti, who wants him to play with her and her stuffed dinosaurs, grown-up version, by Honeylicker. Alright, I will say I don't really care enough about page 1 and Ulti's dynamic for this cover to really hit for me. I feel like we've never really seen them interact with each other. It's largely just the two of them calling for each other as the other gets kind of beat up in a fight, which is not quite enough to actually make a good character dynamic. So that doesn't really hit for me. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. Let's jump right on in. Inside the castle with my boy Hamlet. His fucking giraffe ass. I love him. Inside the castle. Rah! The headliners and gifters have joined the samurai army. About 300 of them. It all happened after a girl appeared on the performance stage and gave them an order to switch sides. I believe she has some kind of power over them. So I think this is still Bao Huang, or another Mary sort of reciting, just announcing all this to the performance, to all of Onigashima. But yeah, it's only 300. I thought it would be a much larger swap. But no, it's only 300, traders on our side now. Anyway, some Beast Pirates then find, Team Tama. It's that kid! She used some kind of weird magic. Will it come undone if we kill her? And we see Usopp is like carrying Tama as they run. Oh no, they're targeting Tama! And one of them kind of shoots oh no, this is one of our guys. Scorpion Death Needle! Sort of shoots a stinger out of his like scorpion hair. Yeah! And Tama calls out to him, Master Daifugo? Again, he's one of those many Wano characters we might have met at some point that I just straight up do not remember for the life of me. There have been so many characters in this arc. Anyway, Nami sort of looks back in shock, and Tama calls, "Oh, hi, Daifugo." And Daifugo gives a thumbs up as Speed runs in. Hey, hop on, Horse Lena. And as not just Nami and Tama run off, Usopp, there's not enough room, I guess, for Usopp. It was a success. You did great, Master. And Usopp runs after them yelling, "Hey, any extra room for me?" And Speed just continues, "Oh, Master, I noticed something. Komachio was knocked out back there. This is someone else, I think. I don't know who this is, though. You must be worried, right? Let us take care of it." Is this... I remember, even before I kind of caught up with the series, reading there was a character named Batman in this arc. Is this Batman? Let me do a quick little Google search, see if this is the same guy. Very well might not be. No, this is very much not the same guy. There's something about his little horns that I took for a bat. Anyway, you must be worried, right? Let us take care of it. And Tama like glows at him. You will? Gee, thanks. And then Nami kind of remarks that really is a remarkable power. And Usopp, who is apparently caught up and is just like lying across speed. Yeah, you usually don't make friends on a battlefield. And then Zeus pops out of the climate baton. Hey, Nami, can I be your servant like before? And Nami just snaps at him. What do you mean? Absolutely not. Aww. And then Nami actually treating him better than in the past. But what do you say to, and with a wink, sidekick? And Zeus gets like hard-eyed, Nami! And he just goes to town on the Beast Pirates. Out of the way, losers! I'm Nami's sidekick! Yeah! I think that this is Usopp's line. You picked up something remarkable too, I gotta say. And then we see some more scenes of the battlefield. As I guess I think this is one of the headliners calling out, "Join the samurai! Strike down Kaido!" And some regular Beast Pirates members, "Hey, you guys gone insane?" And Bao Huang announces some of the headliners' followers are joining them. There are roughly 1,000 of them, so that's even better. I guess some of the Beast Pirates were just more loyal to their headliner than they were to Kaido as a whole. Or maybe it's more of a, they think the tide is turning, which is a good sign. Maybe? There are roughly 1,000 of them. And in the surprise of the betrayal, they managed to take out about 1,000 of ours. And so this Mary sort of reports to either Bao Huang or another Mary with CP0. Because I thought, going back to chapter 10-16, it was with Bao Huang's mouthpiece that they sort of announced this to Onigashima, though maybe that was a Mary. Maybe that was a Mary the whole time, and the real Bao Huang has always been here, and I just sort of forgot it. Anyway, Mary or Bao Huang sort of reacts, meaning the Beast Pirates started with 30,000 and have dropped to 20,000. When you add 1,000 traitors and casualties each, that number drops even further. And the CP0 members kind of changed the board. It's 16,000 versus 9,000. And white may grow further, depending on the gifter's efforts. So yeah. It's starting to look good for our guys. Again, I kind of mentioned this last time that I thought that Tama's move here would be the big moment as like, a military battle. This is where the alliance kind of turns the tide and wins, but it wouldn't really do much against Kaido. All of the gifters in the world aren't actually going to beat Kaido. Anyway, the CP0 members talk to each other. Whichever side wins does not matter to us, but there is one death we must confirm before this is over. Oh, is this going to be about who's who? They're actually here for who's who? The other one, though, says, "Are you sure it's him? That classified intelligence he ran off with was old, and there's no real harm to the government." And then the first guy responds, "It doesn't set good precedent that you can escape from us and live to tell the tale." And then the second guy responds, "Assuming he survives this, of course." And the guy I think is their leader, who has the bearded guy, says, "He is fighting Jimbei after all." And we cut to the 4th floor as Who's Who's room is kind of in tatters. Who's Who's subordinates all kind of run away. "Look out! Stay back! Who's Who is going all out!" And Who's Who jumps. Moonwalk! And Jinbei looks up at him. "So were you saying you bear a grudge against Luffy?" And Jinbei is sort of, he's wheezing. He looks a little bit out of breath, along with being kind of bloodied up. And Who looks to be in better state, which is a little bit concerning. Um, Anyway, Husu continues, technically my grudge is against the man who stole the gum gum fruit from us. Red-haired Shanks. Fang pistol! And he shoots his fangs towards Jimbei, who just deflects it with his armament haki. But even that armament haki seems to be bleeding. There's some kind of liquid on his hokied arm. And Husu just shoots out more and more fang pistols, as he says, but both the straw hat he wore at the time and the gum gum fruit were things the boy inherited from him. Of course he'll be the target of my rage. And, you know, he's just going at it. And he's also just revealing a lot about his motivations here. And we check on on the third floor, where the fang pistols are cutting through the floor and attacking the third floor. Something's coming through the ceiling! One guy got his arm bit off. My arm! Is that Who's fang pistol? And then back on the fourth floor. Ha ha ha. So even your color of armament can't stop them. You made the right decision to dodge. Your typical armament hockey won't stop these fangs from tearing you apart. Though I'm surprised to see how quickly you can move on land, Jimbei. You know, for a fish man. Oop, he said some stupid shit. That's kind of cringe, bro. Did I use that term right? I'm not exactly hip with the kids these days. And Jimbei just sort of sighs. I don't believe this. Don't you know casual racism against fishermen is out of style these days? That's just, what a line to say. Bro, your racism is kinda old-fashioned, you know? And Who gets kind of like on all fours, ready for like a lunge. Haha, sorry about that. Anyway, there's something I wanted to ask you. Iron Body. And we see Jimbei readies his armament hockey again. And Who lunges at him. Bang Flash! And it looks like it might just be a visual effect, but are Who's fangs coated in armament hockey? That's not great. Given that even without armament hockey, it was still like cutting Jinbei's armament hockey. Okay. And yeah, so Jinbei is kind of pushed back, and we get a closer look, and yeah, that's hockey coated fangs. But Jinbei grabs him by the fangs. Fishman Jujitsu! Low tide shoulder throw! And he throws Who's Who onto his back. Now hockeyless in the fangs. And Who's Who kind of coughs up blood. Oh! And then, with a little bit of water I guess he has on hand, he throws it. Water shot! Shave! And Who's Who kind of notices it in kind of panic. But he gets out of the way. Ugh, that hurt. And we see he's like clearly out of breath now from that shoulder throw and from barely dodging the water shot. Anyway, I wanted to ask you about a story I heard in jail from a guard. While I was there, undergoing terrible torment, he laughed and told me to pray. Okay. What's that about? First of all, I think tormenting him is a little harsh. He didn't betray you or anything. Like, all Who's Who did was just fail to beat an emperor. The torment is a little bit extreme, but also to pray. I wonder what that's about. Apparently, there was a figure that slaves would pray to in the long distant past. A legendary warrior they believed would one day free them. The sun god Nika. Did he exist or did they dream him up? They thought he'd bring smiles to their faces and deliver them from suffering. Okay. Nika's a new concept, right? I'm pretty sure we've never heard of this guy before. I'm about 90% certain about that. 95, I'll say. But also, is Who's Who, was he a slave? I figured he was just in jail, but maybe he was enslaved like a celestial dragon or something. Maybe. Possibly, I guess. But yeah, there's the sun god. I'm sure Like, I don't think Oda's gonna bring this up just randomly. This is somehow going to tie in. Maybe, hold on. Crazy theory, or maybe not that crazy. What if Nika is tied to Joy Boy? Because the fact that he's a warrior implies that he's sort of a present, a mortal figure, right? In the present. But the fact that the slaves would pray for him to rescue them also implies he's in the future. And there's all that talk Kaido had a while ago about Luffy not being, or couldn't be Joy Boy. And Odin had that bit about, Wano will be open by the time Joy Boy returns. What if there's a connection between Nika and Joy Boy? I don't know. Jimbei sort of reacted a little bit of shock at hearing the story, as Who's Who goes back on the attack and continues to say, "My time in prison felt so endless. I actually clung to that strange legend of theirs. Save me, I thought. Someone. Anyone." And as Jimbei is sort of defending against all of Who's Who's attacks, he asks, "Why did you ask me about this?" And Who's Who tells him, "Because you led the Sun Pirates. I heard there were former slaves in that crew. And what is Fishman history but the history of slavery?" Okay, there's an interesting thing. Because he's right, a lot of the Fishman pirates were former slaves. Sun Pirates, the Sun God. I don't remember where they got the name Sun Pirates. I'm curious if it just, was never actually said. We were just sort of told, oh yeah, they're the Sun Pirates. Because if not, then either Oda's been planning this Sun God storyline for about a decade, or it's a very convenient retcon. Who's to say? Anyway, we see Who's Who, now with arm and hockey coated hands, extends a little claw past his fingertip. Finger pistol! Spots! And he starts to just poke Jimbei over and over again with this little armament hockey claw. Jimbei defends against it. And all of Who's Who's subordinates are kind of cheering him on. Whoa! Check it out! Master Who's Who is jabbing this guy out! Get him, boss! I can't believe it! Our Tobiropo is even stronger than a former warlord! And it looks like that might just be Jinbei being covered in shadow. But it looks like his skin is black, which might be the armament hockey is now over his entire body. But as he continues to defend, and Who's Who continues on, and that prison guard who told me the story of Nika, they disappeared him days later. So I started thinking I was in danger too. So I risked it all to escape, and here I am today. Is it deadly to even know about the legend? Fascinating, isn't it? So tell me everything you know. Okay. That's just more evidence to the Nika's Joy Boy pile. Because, Joy Boy is tied up in the Void Century. The world government wants people to know nothing about the Void Century, hence the Void. If Nika is Joy Boy, Nika is then tied to the Void Century. Hence why the government disappeared that prison guard. Hence why CP0 is now here to kill Who's Who. There's definitely... I think Nika is Joy Boy. That's my theory. That's the theory I am going with. Nika is Joy Boy. You heard it here. Maybe not first. This might be super obvious. But yeah, that's my theory. Nika is Joy Boy. And what exactly that will end up meaning in the larger context of the series is not yet clear. But that's just what I'm keeping my eye on. Anyway, just then, Who's Who tries to go for another stab, but his finger, he breaks his finger off of Jinbei's armament hockey. He's kind of sent back, yeah! And there's this kind of lightning crackling around Jinbei. Fishman karate, shark grip! And he's, with his hockey-coated hands, has grabbed onto Who's Who's wrist and squeezes down on it. Who's Who screams, gah! And Jinbei looks at him. I have nothing to say to the likes of you. And Who's Who's subordinates all scream, Who's Who? And Who's Who goes for a kick across Jinbei's face. It's done nothing. And Who's Who yells, "Here comes your puncture wound! Fang pistol!" And he shoots another Fang pistol, comes straight for Jinbei, and I think Jinbei deflects it, I think, with Fishman Karate there. Fishman Karate, secret art. And Who's Who looks at him, or kind of starts to panic. Crap, he just snapped all of a sudden. And then Who's Who tries to get away, I think, but Jinbei is stepping on his tail, so he just falls over. "Hey, you're on my tail!" And Jinbei goes for a punch. "If you're going to run your mouth about history." And then Demon Brick Fist, and just decks him right in the face. "Be ready for what you're stepping into first." "Yeah! Master Who's Who!" And Jinbei just stands triumphant. Next chapter hits July 18th. So I believe Who's Who is done. I mean, this is Onigashima, and who's ever truly done on the island of Onigashima? But, I've kind of had my light complaints over the past several months that for all the things that have happened in Onigashima, there's been very little, forward progress being made. And now, in the past, 5 or 6 chapters, 3 out of the 5 enemy Tobiroppo are out of commission. Page 1 was taken up by Big Mom, Ulti by Nami, and now Who's Who by Jinbei. So it's now starting to feel like we really are moving into the end game of this arc at last. Luffy needs to go get healed so he can have his next round against Kaido. There still is, Robin's fight against Black Maria. Please don't skip it, Oda. Frankie and Sasaki, I think, is still going on in the background. Though Sasaki, I think, is even less of a character than any of the other Tobiroppo, if I'm being honest. I love Frankie, and I want him to have a good fight. But, Sasaki, I just don't care about him. There's still Big Mom to deal with, also, and then, of course, Kaido. But this does really feel like the arc is moving into its endgame at last. After already being well past the longest arc in the series. But anyway, let's talk about this chapter, which is a lot of fun. Does not give us any more information about why the Gum Gum Fruit is so important. I'm going to assume Who's Who does not know why the Gum Gum Fruit is so important. He was just like a bodyguard who failed, and so the world government completely turned on him. And I saw someone call out, I think it was on Tumblr in the past week or so, the huge difference in treatment between Who's Who and Lucci, who, from what we can see, had the much larger defeat. He lost the big blueprints, he failed to kill Nami, Enies Lobby got raided on his watch, he wasted a buster call, and yet he gets promoted to CP0, whereas Who's Who loses one fruit and goes to jail for it, and would have been killed had he not escaped. So I'm curious if it's just the Gum Gum Fruit is that important, or if the world government just doesn't really like Who's Who for some reason. I don't know. I really don't know. But more interesting things, though, is why Who's Who escaped from prison. It's this Nika story, who the slaves prayed to, and then the guard who told him about it disappeared. And so, also, actually, here's something I just noticed. There's a bit of a timeline question I don't quite get. So he says he learned about the sun god Nika, right? And then, days later, the guard disappears, and right then, Who's Who escapes, shortly afterwards. But that after he learned about Nika, his time in prison felt so endless that he clung to that strange legend. So maybe it's just he had already been in prison so long that he instantly jumped on it. but there's something about the word choice there that makes me think that um he's it took him a while to just start to cling to the Nika legend. Um, hmm. But yeah, Nika brings up all these interesting questions. Like, it's a hell of a coincidence. The pirate crew comprised of like ex-slaves are the sun pirates, tying in with the sun god. And again, Nika is definitely just another word for Joy Boy. I think that's kind of goes without saying. That's my big theory. Um, and then there's something about Jinbei's line here. Be ready for what you're stepping into first. At the very end, right? I feel like he might know a little something. Like he never says I don't know what you're talking about. It's just I had nothing to say to the likes of you, and then if you're going to run your mouth about history, be ready for what you're stepping into first. I think Jinbei knows about Nika. I mean, he I don't think was a slave himself, but he definitely knew slaves. He might have been a slave himself, and I just forgot. It's been a long time since I read that arc. Um, so like he probably does honestly know about Nika, and so maybe like if Nika is Joy Boy, what else does and maybe he only knows about Nika as the legend of Nika and not the history, the truth. Um, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. Another part of Jinbei we just never really knew before. So yeah, um, this is also just like the most pure action chapter I feel like we've had in a while. Um, I've long since kind of had the theory that Oda he's this might be completely out of completely wrong to a lot of people, but the theory that Oda has sort of been pushing One Piece away from being a like traditional shonen battle manga, and into being whatever One Piece is. It's One Piece is such a big series; it's kind of hard to describe into genre terms. Um, but we have all these battles being off screen. We only see bits and pieces of battles. But this is just pure, unadulterated battle. Um, you know, Who's Who has his moments of throwing the Fang pistols and the Fang flash, and then Jinbei counters with the Jujitsu and the water shots. Who's Who gets up and continues his attack, and then Jinbei goes on the attack for the final time with the shark grip, and then the demon brick fist. And yeah, it's some good classic action, some nice back and forth. In terms of pure combat, it's not like groundbreaking or anything, but it's still good, and gives us plenty of new little lore nuggets to chew on as we have our 2-week break until July 18th. So yeah, huge chapter here, and I really just can't wait to see where we go from here. So I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!